Hello, everyone. So this is my update of weeks 5, 6, and 7 of volunteering out at God's Way in Wilkesdale and following the Divine Truth Principles. So, yeah, I haven't done them separately. It's been a big 3 weeks. A lot has happened. But I just decided to do it all in one because it very much all links in. And essentially week 5, I feel if you watch week 4, week 5 was I guess a little bit of a transition out of that into something that felt a little bit more lighter and more loving. I feel for the first 5 weeks it felt quite heavy, and not to say that stopped at all, but it's like I began to experience, I guess, a lot more acceptance around being here, a lot more acceptance for the choices that I had, the choice that I'd made to be here, and also I said yes to doing more recreational activities with the people here. And week 5, we actually went on a really fun bike ride. There was a group of us that just, I got invited to go on a bike ride with everyone. And it was a lot of fun. And I realized up until that point, I'd sort of been taking it quite seriously in terms of it needing to be and look a certain way of, okay, now I'm here at God's Way and I need to only look at my wounds and the crappy stuff about myself in a way that it's not about not looking at those things, but also noticing when that, because a pattern of mine is to make that berating myself becomes a way of actually avoiding the truth rather than avoiding the whole truth, the full truth, rather than it actually being a loving thing. So it's actually not a truthful thing for me to do that, which is what I feel like I was sort of doing. And that had, obviously isolated, me. And one of the things that I have really been working on here, and that's come to my fruition, that's come to light, my awareness, has been the fact that I have actually found it like really hard to let people in and make friends in a really genuine and honest and true way, and let people get close to me. And that's still something that I'm journeying with as well. And this isn't to say, I think if you would know me, then, or the people who, I want to say that I don't feel like I've been like that my whole life. Perhaps I have, but it's almost as if the deeper I go now as an adult, the more honest I get and the more me I become, the scarier it actually feels to let myself be seen, to be myself around other people. And my fear is that other people won't like me or love me, or that I'll be rejected, and that I'm not lovable. Essentially, that's actually one of my fears. And underneath that is also these feelings of unworthiness that I'm actually, I have noticed. And what also has revealed itself is that I have these deep feelings of feeling unworthy of love, that I'm not deserving of real love. Which has been really beautiful to start to touch into and start to clear, or start to, just really release. So these past 3 weeks, majority of the time, the weeks 5 and 6, I was living by myself in an Airbnb. And it's interesting because I went from living with living with Sandy here, so one of the other volunteers here, to living by myself for about 3 weeks. And it was so insightful. I really came to notice how much the spirits that are with me don't want me to be here. And obviously through my wounds and my hooks, my emotional injuries, they can hook into, they hook into that. They hook into me through my emotional injuries, and I let them. But they really, really don't want me to be here. And so when I was living by myself, it was vastly different of how I was actually being in my days. And I had some days where I was just I felt so heavy in my body. It's like I was listening to the spirits more than actually listening to things that would be more loving. And spirit influence it's something that I'm learning since being here. And I'm still learning it, and learning what it looks like, and learning the really subtle flavor of it, I guess you could say, of when I do something that feels like it is loving, and then I actually do it and it doesn't feel loving. I realize that, it's there's some spirit influence there that's happening. And then I have to obviously look at the reasons why. So I feel like I'm becoming more in tune with that, which, is just really, really interesting to witness and to become aware of. I've also felt terrified to know the spirits that are with me. I'm currently staying with a couple of the other volunteers here, Rani and Helena, for a few days. And it's been, oh my gosh, when I first got here, I cried, like just seeing how they had so beautifully done up the room for me, and left little post-it notes around the house of what what I can use and what's what, essentially. And it was just, I could feel the love. I could feel how much more loving it was compared to what I had been living with myself and with these spirits that I was living with. Because I actually do feel like, and I said this to the girls as well, to Rani and Helena, like there were a few occasions where I was living in the Airbnb that I was living in, and it's like I would have to take a double look, because I literally felt like I saw a man or a woman in the house with me. Like I felt like I actually saw people in the house. And these are the spirits that are actually with me. And I did actually see them. But this, again, is something that I'm getting used to around that actually being a thing. Because they just, they want to really scare me, and they want to keep controlling me and stay with me. And that's how they keep being able to be with me, is hooking into my fear, hooking into my, the self-doubt that I have that I have inside, the feelings of unworthiness, feelings that I'll be unloved, or that I'm unlovable. But mostly my fear, mostly the fear. And so, yeah, that was like scary, and also kind of, once I felt through my fear and my grief around, how I'm, the feeling of being attacked and being treated so unlovingly, I got to the stage where I was able to actually realize that, they're just people who have emotional injuries as well. They're just people with emotional injuries also, and they actually truly believe that they're helping me, which they're not, but that's what they are adamant in believing. And to the point where there were a couple of things where they actually, moved some objects. I didn't see them actually, moving the objects, but they actually, it's like I would go out and do something and notice that something was shifted on the table outside when it was actually, and that would happen on quite a few occasions where I would go out. Happened a few times where I went outside and there was just like this 50-cent coin on the table outside. And I remember going outside a few times, and the first time I was like, did I move that? And anyway, so I put it back in the spot where it actually was. And then I came out the next time and it was moved again. And this happened a few times. And it was then that I actually, just really started thinking, actually, I'm being played with here. I'm being played with, yeah. So that was really fascinating to see. But again, doing it all in the hope that they can scare me and therefore control me. So I feel like if I hadn't have experienced everything that I had prior to this, then I wouldn't be as open to receiving or just being able to, I guess, be okay feeling the spirit influence to this degree, or even being able to talk about it. So that's been really cool. Another thing as well, I started working out here, and something that I have struggled with since being here, which I think I've mentioned in some of the other videos, is, when I came here, I sort of threw the baby out with the bathwater. I threw out everything that I did, everything that I was passionate about, everything that I had already sort of kind of created in my life and been living in my life, and just was volunteering. And it's like, how do I just live this way as best as I possibly can, So it's almost like I was trying to create this clean slate for myself by doing that, by throwing everything out. I got to the stage, however, where I realized that I was actually really suffering. And pain and suffering is a result of really unloving, choices and behavior. And something that I realized is that doing that it's not loving to do that. It's not loving. It wasn't loving for me to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Or, for anyone who's watching this who doesn't know that saying, to throw everything away. And I remember deeply, deeply desiring and praying to God, just like, I want to be out in the world. I want to be living this way and be out in the world. I want to be amongst people. Because I do also have this feeling that life will show us what we need to actually feel, what we need to deal with, what we need to work on, essentially. So when I started this job, I remember driving to work and I had a lot of resistance to even go. Like, I did not even want to go there. I did not want to go there. And I remember driving early this morning and my first day and just talking to God and praying to God. And I started crying. There was grief. And I felt God like say to me, this is you being out in the world. And it was literally like I realized by me just working and living life and doing these regular everyday things, that was me being in the world. And yeah, I guess you could say having the thing that I desired, but the part, this is how I do it, I guess you could say. And the part that really landed for me within that was that I have a relationship with God. So it was the message that God wants me to still live my life and do the things that I want to be doing with a relationship with Him or her. By being in relationship with Him. All the time, every moment, any moment. And I think my desire within, that I had when I sort of threw everything away was that I didn't feel like it was right or true or pure. And what I felt in that moment that I hadn't realized prior that was missing prior to me coming here was that the part that I needed to include was that I needed to really have, remember and be in just live my life in relationship with God. In a relationship with God. To be in a relationship with God. So that was really beautiful. Really, really beautiful to experience. But it's pretty much just been those things with really deep layers. As I said, when I was living by myself for the first, for weeks 5 and 6, it felt quite dark. And, it felt quite dark, I really feel, because I was really listening to these spirits. I was forgetting about my relationship with God and wanting my codependency with these spirits and my relationship with them over my relationship with God. And what I actually have realized since being here and living, I guess, implementing the God's ways and more divine truth is I've had fear that I will end up alone. But actually what I've come to realize is that it has opened me up to these really beautiful friendships and connections and gifts. Prior to, it's such a gift that I it's such a gift that I'm staying in people's homes. I have the gift of staying in people's homes. They gift me to stay with them like that. And in the past, I have felt terrified of even doing that, of even saying yes. But it's just such a gift. And just these beautiful experiences of bike riding and going and getting ice cream and having, hanging out and having just, life is so much more simple, but it's so much more enriching. So much more enriching. It's really beautiful. And I feel like one of the big things that I really appreciate is having other people around me who have a desire to take responsibility and work on their, the stuff that comes up for them. And so that, as a result, becomes, not always, but most of the time, less of a blame and projection when things do come up, and more of a conversation, in just an honest conversation, and just a willingness to be responsible for our own feelings. The other thing, there was something else I was going to say. The other thing that I have been experiencing since being here is these beautiful reconnected relationships with people from my past. And to give you a little backstory, which I'm not too sure if I shared in any of the videos, I was born in a town not far from here in Toowoomba. And since 2020, I've been living in Sydney. And it's almost as if pre-2020, I was a certain person. And then from 2020, or 2019, should I even say, until about last year, I became someone entirely different. And my tastes changed, who I hung out with changed, my friendship circle, like all these things just changed because I was like a completely different person. And it's been really interesting and enriching to experience reconnecting with people who have been really pivotal and really important in my life, up until that point that I started changing. And I know, what the changes were, which I will do in a separate video at some stage. But it's just been really lovely to have these conversations. And a lot of them have been conversations with men, which has been lovely. And just to also see my, just, I guess, to be in that engagement with male friends, because I used to have so many male friends. I felt like I had a lot of male friends when I was growing up. And then it's like when everything started to shift, I started just having a lot of female friends. And so it's been really lovely to re-engage in in those male friendships. So this is week 5, 6, and 7. It feels like a lot longer that I've been here for. It's interesting because Jesus and Mary are actually over doing their talks overseas, and I've been really in the contemplation, I guess you could say. Well, I guess you could say I've just been noticing how, in the beginning when I got here, I was listening to their talks like as much as I could. Whereas now it's like I've sort of stopped listening to their talks quite often, and it's just been when I can. But also I'm noticing, and so I started really judging myself. I just started judging myself for that and feeling really bad, and making it mean something about myself. And I'm sure there's things in there, but also I've realized that I feel like by even just living here, it is literally humility in practice. It is, engaging with the people here, going along to the volunteer days, receiving feedback, sorting my life out of living here, and knowing that I'm going to be here for longer than 2 weeks or longer than 4 weeks. All of that has brought stuff to the surface. So it's been less about what I've, I guess, listened to in the teachings, and the teachings have been relevant when I have listened to them, but I guess it's just been interesting because I feel like I've actually been in the experience of the practical implementation of these teachings, which has been big. So very big, in beautiful, beautiful ways when I let myself open to it. So all right, this is weeks 5, 6, and 7, and I'll keep you going. I am actually heading to back to Sydney for some work for the next couple of weeks. So I will, I guess I'll do an update of what that looks like. My intention is to, I'm going to be in a big city. So I don't know what it's going to look like. I have some nerves around being able to implement this when I go back there, and I can already feel some things that are coming up for me already. But I'll keep you posted, and it'll be interesting to see the difference and what comes up. So all right, thanks for watching.